can't be record of parliament that says that there was no such thing said, because it was said here by an extremely irresponsible and reckless speaker.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Now our next speaker is going to be the Premier, Honorable Premier of KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Speaker, Honorable President, here on this august House, on behalf of the African National Congress, to join the millions of South Africans in welcoming the state to Inganekwane from EDA. The coalition of corruption led by the DA at Tetswana. This has been exposed, none other than the Auditor General. This corruption was the municipality, and the people are not getting services. The instability and the wholesale failure to DA and its incompetent leaders. Honorable members, there is consensus in society that there was no bending of the facts, underestimating the challenges, and cooking of statistics. This head on the people of South Africa. Honorable members, requiring leadership. And unfortunately, I can't say the same to the honorable members who will squeeze, set us apart to our post-COVID-19, post-floods, post-crisis that we've had to undertake to get things done and things back on track. When we were hit by the devastating floods, never have been the president that we have seen Ramaphosa led from the front. So I stand here, honorable members, on behalf of the people of our province. Challenges and almost all the sectors of our economy are showing signs of positive recovery. We can say in consent with the priorities to the vital services that were needed to be provided to our people. The reservoir, which was extensively damaged by the floods, this is now producing more volumes of potable water to supply many, and currently addressing the reticulation, including Prince Mshiyeni Hospital, are at an advance of the death of ignorance. Let me mention that affected our beaches. Most of our beaches are now open, and water quality is being monitored and that indeed Durban and KwaZulu-Natal is open. I wish I could say the same for the DA-run municipality in Cape Town, because they were not affected by floods. Your Excellency 22 have followed the state of the address in their dignified temporary accommodation. It is the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Minister of Road Transport, and all other ministers that worked with us throughout in the flats. We were with our people up until the 25th of December, Mr. President. We wanted to make sure that when we talk about the fact that our people are now living in a dignified flats and places, individuals who lost their homes in floods. Progress is also being made in linking all of these temporary, which will be used for permanent housing solutions in the western, northern, and southern regions, totaling to about 325. To say, honorable members, that our people know better than some of the members would shout out of their vote infrastructure damages as a result of the floods. Our estimates are that we needed more than 5.7 billion to be spent. We've completed the road in no time, the port access roads, the Solomon Mahlangu, a big portion of MFIN. Sandral has also just appointed a service provider to fix the N2 Umgababa and N2 Umhlali bridge. We will also be creating the work, the support for our SMMEs, because in all the work, those that have been learning on the job in some of these projects. Emerging position is that businesses have also been back to normal following the unrest that befell our province. The rebuilding work back to business and are investing even more in our province. Through the efforts that you have put in, Mr. President, already, Minister Patel already spoke at length about some of these projects, including SAPI Psycho, and SAPI Psycho is even out of the value chain at SAPI Psycho. Some of them are in fashion designing, some of them are doing various things, and Hesto Hannes, Mr. President, they are already supplying the Hesto Hannes company. During your investor conference, are up and running, and they are creating massive job opportunities. And to date, the infrastructure office. We also welcome your progress report, Mr. President, on the work that is being done on the nation, get our port back to being competitive as KwaZulu-Natal, as a strategic logistic corridor for Africa. We have been warned by the wise that instead of casting darkness, let us light a candle, dance in the storm to innovate and to secure energy supply, with the province being very well positioned for alternative energy generation, green hydrogen, electricity. Our Executive Council has also approved a team working on alternative energy generation, including work with municipality Premier of Western Cape, saying there is nothing that is being done, because I've attended meetings with my Honorable Premier of Western Cape and are talking about the progress that is being made. We welcome this intervention, Mr. President. The wealth creation investment and many other opportunities that will be open for our people. President, you show tell no lies, expose lies whenever they are told, mask no difficulties, mask no. Happy to say that in working with our communities, our military veterans had a very successful summit initiatives that are being opened and that we are following up, including the digital economy, that we are going to be bringing them into that, of ensuring that our military veterans do benefit, including the MOU that is being done with the Department of Education. That it was very disturbing when one of the senior mining executive of Sibanye, the CE, in Business Day and Business Tech editions of the 7th of February, where he argues that because of a general loss of confidence, businesses now, types of the friends like Foreman, declares that they come to you when the sky is crystal clear and they disappear.
Thank you. The next speaker is Honorable.
Manyaus. Umhle kakhulu mama kulo white. Parliament belongs to the police unit in the Chamber of Parliament, speaks to the dictatorship that has crept in our country. Respecting member of Parliament can condone what happened last year, the political will to solve the problems faced by the country. We have a president that may have seriously violated the Constitution, may have seriously committed acts of misconduct. Do you get the moral authority to come and present SONA to the very same institution you do not believe can hold you accountable? We have a crisis of whilst crime is increasing, drugs are killing the future of this country, unemployment and hopelessness continue to be the adjectives most commonly associated with our young people. Construction mafias are on the rise. Traditional leaders are also under siege, and the silence from the government is telling. The porous borders compound the crime problem in our country. It's amazing that the elite police unit, which was in the chambers, is nowhere again, they are nowhere to be seen to dismantle the false prosecution rings, curb the ever-growing drug trade, things that are destroying the future of this country. Mr. In 2018, when you took over, the unemployment rate was 25.6%. Now it is 33.9%. Now there's permanent load shedding for the next 2 years. The petrol price was 13 rands. Now it is 21 rands. Tata, asikus. And you need to ask yourself a question. What has changed for the better ever since you became president in South Africa? The best is creation of many ministries in the presidency, all to appear as if you are doing something, are not working. You took the intelligence to the presidency without any tangible results, yet you expect us to be happy with the appointment of a Minister of Electricity, whereas the Ekwakwa, Hammanskraal, Ektuwa, being revived to create meaningful jobs for our people and turn South Africa into a manufacturing hub. Give people dignity, true jobs, and create conditions for their businesses to thrive. The township economy needs to be transformed, but the reality and the facts speaks from themselves. The country is worse off under your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, before I start, I must say it's impossible to avoid pointing out the absurdity of the DA's. Just Nick, they can't even cross a stream when ordered to do so by the High Court. Next week, they will be in the Supreme Court of Appeals challenging a court order that says they have a duty. Absurd. House Chairperson, South Africa requires miracles to eliminate unemployment. If the economy was to achieve steady growth of 3%, but 8 million South Africans would still be without a job. No number of well-intended job creation schemes, entrepreneurial training, programs, red tape reduction for extraordinary measures simply do apply. Mr. President, we cannot maintain such a high number of unemployed people to adopt an expanded cash transfer system as part of a comprehensive institutional rights and stability. The announcement that the 350 Rand per month COVID grant will be contanga of millions of people, this year's speech was the perfect opportunity to unequivocally commit the state to implementing a basic income grant. A comprehensive social security system can and must be and should be reduced. At a provincial level, there's an urgent need to reconsider spending that occurs through premiers' offices, and regressive or ineffective tax expenditure must be shut down or fixed. If we did the entrepreneurship is not training or red tape, it is access to finance. If the World Bank is correct, we can halve our unemployment rate if we achieve the same level of entrepreneurship as our peer countries, as cooperatives and informal traders or businesses. But we must invest far more substantially in ensuring access to finance. The plan to provide 1.4 billion Rand in financing plans. But the fact is that if this finance is to be administered by the Small Enterprise Finance Agency, then that rings alarm bells. It was SEFA that implemented the President's Spaza shop, a minuscule 7,000 Rand to a small but unknown number of Spaza shops and general dealers. Mr. President, we urge your government to ensure that access to finance means exactly that, and that violation by the National Energy Action Plan, no matter how difficult this is in the short term, to end load shedding and in parallel implement a just transition to renewable energy. But the country deserved a clear timeline, and capacity to be procured through bid window 6 would be doubled from 2,600 megawatts to 5,200 megawatts. But the list of preferred bidders that were announced on the 8th of December only will enable a large-scale rollout of rooftop solar panels. This sounds like a scheme that would work only for the rich. We propose, Mr. President, that your government pursues the pace payment is made through property owners' rates, municipal rates accounts over a 20-year period. This will widely extend the financial ability of property owners to join the rooftop revolution.
Mr. Herra.
Finally, an electricity state of disaster. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Honorable Moll.
We give Honorable Zungu a second chance to come and debate SONA. He just came here and debated President Ramaphosa and said less about SONA. Some of the members of the House during the SONA. He says undermining parliament, which is a critical component of our democracy. The conduct of some members was clearly not aimed at holding the president to account, delusional individuals. What makes matters worse is that some, used, humiliated young and old people of South Africa. The people of South Africa have indeed seen them for who they are. Speaker, we call upon fly to Cape Town and attend SONA, get in the house and behave like gang leaders of Amapara. Honorable Speaker, Oliver Regional Tambo, what does that? To the support and investment provided to and for young people. As a consequence, we welcome the scrapping of experience for entry-level jobs, historically and continuously to demonstrate its commitment to. It is worth noting that the presidential employment stimulus has since its establishment in the education sector alone, 596,109 young people were beneficiaries of the program, and about 32,000 of them with the necessary work experience and skills which can be used as they transition to other work opportunities. I don't need it. This has further directly stimulated the economy. NYDA grant program that is designed to provide young people, young entrepreneurs with an opportunity to access both financial and non-financial business development support in order to well, such as Sibusiso Mahlangu, a 31-year-old whose company focuses on electrical control, instrumentations, mechanical engineering, and designs, which includes systematic. He was able to obtain equipment for his business, which has enabled his business to overcome financial challenges and slow production lines. As a result, the interventions made by the ANC-led government. South Africa is still faced with structural challenges which is felt by the youth. One particular manifestation of the crisis facing these young people are largely from the black working class and poor families. There is a need to intensify and expand higher education capacity. There is further a need to popularize the second chance program of young people so that they become responsible citizens who constructively contribute to the development and growth of our country. In the face of high levels of unemployment, there is scaling up and sustaining public employment to address the challenges of fraying social cohesion and gender inequalities linked to the broader social reproduction crisis facing poor and highest level of income inequality. Our wealth inequality is even greater, with youth unemployment sitting at 70%, majority being black and African. The current situation is perpetuated by high levels of concentration, hyper-finalization, and barriers to entry for small enterprises, which inhibits the ability of youth to obtain finance from financial institutions. It is important to note that the value of speculative capital of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the realities of exclusion, poverty, inequality are not unconnected to these realities. We have a financial sector that extracts value from the economy, but does not our economy, like agriculture, manufacturing, and supporting SMMEs owned by young people, in a matter that our developmental state must tackle head-on and be decisive developmental purposes that will respond to the inclusion of young people in the economy. The youth has the responsibility of taking charge of its future. As the ANC-led government, it is in the State of the Nation address. This we need to do with clear intention and clarity without any apology. The youth of this country, we must invest in it. Made to the people of South Africa during the day of SONA. And we wish to say to you, that is the only apology you are going to make, and we have confidence in you. Thank you very much.
Ngiyabonga sihlalo. Elelo sikahulumeni yokusiza abantu abahlaselwe indlala izokwelulwa nokuthi zisebenza ngendlela engenakukhwabanisa futhi nangendlela ebonelela abantu abasekuhluphekeni okukhulu. Bekungaba ngcono futhi uma abantu abafaka izicelo zabo zesibonelelo zigunyazwe, kufanele ukuthi bakhokhelwe ngokusheshsha, kungadingi ukuthi balinde izinyanga. Le mali yesibonelelo igcina isemakhukhwini abantu abasebenzayo,
abanye abasebenzela yena lo hulumeni esikhuluma ngaye. Kuthi labo abafaka izicelo, House Chair, regarding the increase in other grant types, the announcement would provide much needed relief and hope to recipients of old age grants. Somlomo sihlalo hloniphekile kusukela ngoNovember ka-2022 izigidi zezibonelelo azizange zikhokhwe ngesikhathi lokho kwendulayo bebe bezama ukonga izibonelelo zabo zikahulumeni ukuthi zibaqhube kuze kuphele inyanga. In addition, a system that pays grants to nations and increases in grant budgets will make the difference it is meant to make. Between November 2022 and February 2023, hundreds of thousands. This honorable chairperson affects people who are already struggling, who cannot afford to struggle for another day, let alone break under these circumstances. Honorable Speaker, these are not gripes from an opposition party, but they are a lived reality, the day-to-day caused by a government that stopped looking after its poor about 29 years ago. In a country buckling under and where 27% of children are stunted, a phenomenon some are calling a slow violence of malnutrition, the Department of Social Development and partners geared towards ensuring services are rendered without glitches, are robust enough to absorb the shocks, and are communicated proactively and effectively. View of the grants that is further undermined by the exorbitantly high cost of living we are so burdened by. Well, according to the Pietermaritzburg Economic People, currently sits at 4,228 Rand and 82 cents. This is a scandalous increase of 380 Rand and 30. It is the time, Chairperson, that the ANC considers proposals and recommendations made by the Democratic Alliance in the spirit. It is for this reason, House Chair, that the DA calls for the child support grant to be increased to at least the lower bound to make a dent in the crisis of food insecurity. We have also responded with firm, well-thought, the much-abused COVID-19 pandemic, the looting that took place in Cape and the Northwest provinces. These proposals were to no avail. Well, I will repeat sport. Reviewing the list of zero-rated food items, reviewing import tariffs on some food items, and lastly, but not leastly, provide land. Honorable Chair, along with calling for these immediate relief interventions, the Democratic Alliance will continue to call for economic reforms in South Africa if we make South Africa a place that attracts investment and scarce skills, a place where small businesses can easily start and grow. Sekwe ukuthola imisebenzi noma baqale amabhizinisi afufusayo. Sinesiqiniseko sokuthi lokhu kungabasiza ukuthi bamelane nezimo ezimazonzo ezifana nalezo uMzansi Afrika. People a hand up, not a hand out. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Davini Abrahams.
Thank you, House Chairperson, Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable members, fellow South Africans, good afternoon. Starting a business, CEDA and the Department of Small Business Development give us hope, makes being an entrepreneur so much easier. You do not feel the isolation as can do so much more when we are being supported, even though it takes long to reach some of us. One thing I want to guarantee when my business grows, what we receive today is more than just a tangible item, it is hope. Honorable members, these are the words of Miss Melanie Abraham beneficiaries, the first time in their history. House Chair, I stand here to join those that welcome and support the President for delivering the State of the Nation Party, but the State of the Nation address is in line with the 55th ANC conference resolutions, the January 8 statement, and our strategy and tactics and a code. Social cohesion in a national democratic society will depend on the extent to which the rights of those in lower ranks of the socio-economic ladder, SMMEs and cooperatives, are potentially the source of economic vitality and employment creation. In his address on Thursday last week, the President reminded us, quote, "The substance of that hope lies in our concerted efforts to position SMMEs and cooperatives as avenues for growth, employment creation, and resilience, businesses and cooperatives. This is in line with the National Development Plan, which categorically states that most new jobs will come from SMMEs, but access to finance as well as business development support, especially through incubation." Honorable members, the countries will be enabled. I will talk briefly to this. The first SMME strategy for the country, which is called the National Integrated Small Enterprise, with a focus on practical partnerships that leverage more resources and capacity for support. These include for new economic startups, on entrepreneurship initiative, on enterprise supplier development scale-up, and on a greatly expanded township and rural enterprise program. Contrary to the view panel with government on these initiatives, we should guard against narratives of mistrust that seek to divide us as South Africans and redirect us from the transformation. Inadequate offices countrywide. To address this, ease of application will be better enabled through the digitalized systems we are working on. We intend to use with established players in the SMME finance ecosystem, and we are partnering to extend our reach and loan approval time, Honorable Member. We're also increasing our footprint. Focus area identified is to reduce red tape and remove regulatory blockages. We are making strides as government in this direction, while we are working on amending the enabling to address some regulatory impediments at local level, like bylaws, permit fees, and the zoning costs. We will also be paying attention on measures to cap. It is important that trading activities happen within the parameters of the rule of law and fair competition. The third area relates to more appropriate financing. In the gallery, we have Sanele Ngwenya of Conformity LPG Gas, who hails from Durban. Of course, he operates in an industry that deals with refillable fire extinguishing amount of 835,691 rands and has created a number of jobs. The second one is Mr. Eileen Broiler Chickens and has a contract of 5-year grower contract for Kroon's Chicken. He has sustained 45 jobs that he nearly lost. He was funded to announce Mr. Enoch Mufukeng of More and More Investment Holding, which again is a youth-owned business and has created 192 jobs. He received support of 5 million, who's based in Kimberley, again got support, who is in the transportation of fuel and owns a fuel wholesale license. He delivers monthly on a 6-year contract with Kimberley Truck against the Youth Challenge Fund. We have Ms. Mabato Elsie Ramala, an informal trader who hails from Limpopo province. She joined our small enterprise fund and has built himself a very beautiful home, including where he comes from. Lastly, we have Mr. Lufefe Nomjana of Green Innovations, trading as Spinach King, and his business manufactures gluten-free spinach bread and other green health products. He was funded through the Township and Rural Enterprise Program, 1.5 million under the Youth Challenge Fund, and he has off-takers like Pick and Pay, Spa, ShopRite, and Wellness Warehouse that he supports. Fellow lack of support to Black and colored women-owned businesses, but to collaborate with us to realize the localization policy to enhance, to provide financial support to small businesses. Crucially, SONA has indicated that through CIFA, 1.4 billion rands will be, amount is significant. However, nowhere near what is required to address the SMME credit gap, which the International Finance Corporation estimates, and of course there are a number of interventions we are making to address this as government. The future must not replicate the past in terms of racial patterns of economic ownership. Economic reforms in changing the old structures of our economy. The state must fund the developmental dividend. Micro-enterprises are also the most excluded by the mainstream financial services as follows. The first one, the SMME-focused localization program, which is aimed at diversifying and strengthening the country's industrial base through a focused import enterprise program, which is a blended finance scheme aimed at supporting businesses in townships and rural areas, linking them to market opportunities. And again, the scheme goes up to 15 million rands for this financial year, and the scheme goes up to 15 million rands. The cooperative support in order to make sure that we realize what we spoke about of inclusive economy. On the informal and micro enterprise development program, which is 100% grant offered to informal and micro enterprises from a minimum grant of amount of $5 credit guarantee scheme, which is aimed at de-risking bank finance to SMMEs and unlocking private sector funding. To date, this scheme operates with 25 SMEs are participating under it, and they have been guaranteed up to the value of 3.1 billion.
Minister.
Through the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, and that assists new entrant farmers with infrastructure. The Agri-BE Fund, which aims at supporting farmers and agripreneurs to acquire equity in existing and the blended finance. Through the Department of Minerals and Energy, we have also designed measures to enable new
Honorable
entrant
Minister, I'm
black
afraid
women.
your time has expired.
Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Fighters, Comrade Julius Silo Malema, the EFF battalion deployed in Parliament, provincial legislatures throughout the country, Shivambu, members of the Central Command team who are present here, and all ground forces of the July 26 movement, and the building of dysfunctional municipalities as enshrined in the EFF manifesto, as we have witnessed a lack of direction in terms of Congress. Chairperson, the speaker who spoke before me have demonstrated that we are dealing with an individual who does not mean politics through South Africa have collapsed. When Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa reported to be in financial distress, for he has said a lot to demonstrate lack of vision for viable of government, lack of skills and technical capacity, corruption, aging and underfunded infrastructure is what we have witnessed under you, Mrs. As the economic freedom fighters, we are saying Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa must step down as the President of the Republic of South Africa. In his 2018-19, he said his government has begun the process of stabilizing support for only 57 municipalities. However, we know that this is not true at about 128. 5 years later, the number has increased to more than 163. These are municipalities, these municipalities are so dysfunctional that they cannot be relied on to deliver clean water. They cannot bylaws within their localities. In fact, the number is not over 163, House Chair, but we know that it's over the majority of the municipalities. Will prioritize spatial integration, human settlement, and local government as one of his 7 priorities, and they're adequately resourced. Chair, we said that there are a lot of things the President does not understand regarding local municipalities. From this level, from the local level, where our councillors are deployed. We have seen our councillors trying to provide leadership with the equitable share is the reason why local government is dysfunctional and municipalities are poorly resourced to fulfill their constitutional equitable share to ensure that the majority of the revenue raised nationally must be allocated to municipalities because they are at the expenditure will be covered by its own revenue is misguided idea that has resulted in municipalities receiving less than 10% will have capacity to collect revenue and build, and people will have jobs to earn salaries and pay for municipal services. Chair, equitable share and conditional grants. Only metropolitan municipalities collect revenue because of the concentration of South Africa's economy in this city, economically viable, and this is why we have proposed that we must make remote municipalities social economic zones, inviting they will create sustainable jobs. Chairperson, this will also allow us to depopulate cities while there is enough. Chair, if we are going to fix local government, we don't need the so-called concept from your office. We need to chase services to South Africans throughout the country. Chair, we need to change the equitable share to our strength and what 8 of Metsimahulu in the Free State. We need to allocate enough funds for what 23 in Metsimahulu to fix. Chairperson, we need Nkosi Langalibalitle local municipality to build internal capacity to deal with flooding challenges during this rainy season, long area in the Northern Cape province. We need funds to build proper water infrastructure in Ward 1 of Karrieberg in the Northern Cape water.
As you conclude, Honorable Mokause.
The people of Caddington in Kuruman, Ward 7 of Jomorolong, are without water and electricity. Chairperson program, informed by a land audit, formalized informal settlement, there is no hope for local government. And we are going to demonstrate.
The next speaker is the Deputy Minister of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs, Honorable Nkadimeng.
Full House Chair, Your Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, His Excellency Deputy President David Mabuza, enshrined and foresee a local government in arms working together and not against each other. It places local government as everybody's. Find its tenets from Intergovernmental Relation Acts of South Africa, which says all spheres of government, of Section 152 of the objects of local government, and Section 154, which mandates national government to support municipalities. The Financial National Treasury, FFC, DCOG have put up 2 terms of discussions with the document heading over for the adoption of is not necessarily the issue of having lack of finances, but is to assist them to spend the money that they are currently being allocated on. 1% of the MIG for the first time in the year 2021-2022 was spent at a 91%. Because of capacity development, university and only wrote multiple choice question answers. DDM need you to contextualize the law, understand context. So monitoring and oversight the accountability framework under under the presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa. 292 of our municipal officials are currently studying with the University of Cape Town, here next to you, supporting municipalities to deal with their waste.